He calls himself the Godfather of Credit, a man who promises to unlock the secrets of financial success. He's charismatic, he's confident, he's built a following by spinning tales of incredible wealth, all earned from humble beginnings. He's Ray Reynolds, and he's here to tell you that you too can achieve the American dream. But what if this so-called Godfather is nothing more than a con man? What if his empire is built on lies, deception, and the broken dreams of those who trusted him? Today we're diving deep into the world of Ray Reynolds. We'll expose the truth behind the carefully crafted persona and reveal the dark reality of his fraudulent schemes. Get ready, because things are about to get ugly. Ray Reynolds loves to tell a good story. He wants you to believe he's a self-made millionaire, a man who pulled himself out of poverty and built an empire from scratch. According to Reynolds, his entrepreneurial spirit bloomed early. He claims to have launched multiple businesses as a teenager, each more successful than the last. He speaks of overcoming incredible odds, of outsmarting the system, and of achieving unimaginable wealth through sheer determination. He paints a picture of a young man driven by ambition, a prodigy who defied the limitations of his circumstances. But this captivating narrative begins to crumble upon closer inspection. The reality of Reynolds' early life, as it turns out, is a far cry from the rags to riches tale he weaves. The truth lies buried beneath layers of fabrication, hidden in plain sight from those captivated by his charm. Our investigation uncovered a trail of inconsistencies in Reynolds' claims. Public records, court documents, and testimonies from those closest to him paint a very different picture. Remember those successful businesses Reynolds claims to have started as a teenager? They never existed. The evidence suggests that Reynolds' entrepreneurial ventures were nothing more than elaborate fabrications, carefully crafted to bolster his image as a financial guru. Tax records reveal no evidence of significant income during his youth. In fact, many of these so-called businesses appear to be entirely fictitious. One glaring example is Helping Hand Industries, a company Reynolds claims to have founded and grown into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. Our investigation revealed that Helping Hand Industries was not only real, but was actually founded by Reynolds' father. The truth, it seems, is far less glamorous than the fiction Reynolds has spun. Reynolds' narrative relies heavily on the image of a troubled youth, overcoming adversity and fighting his way out of poverty. This narrative, cultivated over years of public appearances, has resonated with his audience, a testament to the power of resilience. Struggling to make ends meet, hustling to overcome his circumstances, rising from the ashes of a difficult past is central to his appeal. But what if this compelling backstory is far less sensational than he would have you believe? Public records and interviews with childhood acquaintances reveal a starkly different picture of Ray Reynolds' upbringing. He wasn't raised in poverty. He wasn't forced to hustle for survival. In fact, he enjoyed a relatively comfortable middle-class upbringing. Reynolds grew up in a stable, two-parent household, attended well-regarded schools, and participated in extracurricular activities like any other teenager. His parents, while not wealthy, provided a loving and supportive environment. They worked hard to give their son opportunities they never had, ensuring he had access to a good education and a stable home life. This, of course, doesn't fit the narrative of the self-made millionaire, the underdog, who fought his way to the top against all odds. And that's the point. By fabricating a narrative of hardship, Reynolds is able to manipulate his audience's emotions to garner sympathy and trust. He presents himself as a relatable figure, someone who understands the challenges of financial struggle, even though his own experiences were far removed from the hardships he describes. This fabricated narrative of hardship serves a very specific purpose. It allows Reynolds to position himself as a savior, an expert who can help others escape the same struggles he claims to have overcome. He preys on the vulnerabilities of his audience, many of whom are struggling financially and looking for hope, for someone who understands their situation. By inventing a past filled with struggle, he creates a powerful emotional connection with his followers. They see him not just as a successful entrepreneur, but as someone who has walked in their shoes, who understands their pain. This manufactured empathy is a key ingredient in his recipe for deception. He uses their trust, their belief in his story, to sell them on his programs, his seminars, his promises of financial freedom. But what he's really selling is a lie, a carefully constructed persona designed to conceal the truth about his past and his true intentions. The lies about his upbringing are just the tip of the iceberg. Reynolds' entire persona is built on a foundation of fabrication and exaggeration. He boasts of a business empire of multi-million-dollar companies and of a life of luxury and extravagance. His social media feeds are carefully curated to project an image of success, overflowing with photos of exotic vacations, luxury cars, and opulent homes. He wants his followers to believe that he is living proof of his own methods, a walking, talking advertisement for his financial advice. But as we dug deeper, we discovered that the reality is far less impressive. Many of the businesses he claims to own either don't exist or are significantly less successful than he portrays. The luxury cars, the mansions, the extravagant lifestyle, much of it appears to be smoke and mirrors, carefully staged to maintain the illusion of wealth and success. This calculated facade serves a dual purpose. It entices new followers who are drawn to his apparent success, and it reassures existing followers that they've made the right decision by trusting him. As we've seen, Ray Reynolds has a habit of bending the truth, of crafting a narrative that suits his needs. He's built a career on deception, on exploiting the trust and vulnerability of those seeking financial guidance. But his fabrications about his upbringing and business success are just the beginning. In the next part of our investigation, we'll delve into the truly insidious nature of Reynolds' schemes, exposing the fraudulent companies, the predatory practices, and the devastating impact he's had on the lives of countless individuals who fell prey to his lies. Get ready to be shocked, because the truth behind the godfather of credit is far more sinister than you could ever imagine. Remember Helping Hand Industries, the supposed brainchild of a teenage entrepreneur, the multi-million-dollar company that never actually existed? Well, it gets worse. Remember how we mentioned Reynolds' father? Turns out he wasn't just an innocent bystander in his son's web of lies. Public records confirm that Helping Hand Industries was, in fact, a legitimate business. However, it wasn't founded by Ray. It was his father's company, a small, struggling enterprise that Ray shamelessly appropriated for his own fabricated narrative. He used his own father's company, a company built on years of hard work, to construct an image of entrepreneurial brilliance that was nothing more than a cruel illusion. And the worst part, Reynolds' father wasn't even aware of his son's deception until much later. He had no idea that his hard work, his struggles, were being twisted and exploited to fuel his son's fraudulent empire. It's a heartbreaking example of how far Reynolds was willing to go to maintain his carefully crafted facade, even if it meant betraying his own family. But the Helping Hand hustle is just one example of a much larger pattern of deception. Reynolds has built a career on fabricating success stories, on creating the illusion of widespread prosperity through his teachings. He trots out these so-called success stories as proof of his methods, as evidence that his system actually works. He parades them on his website, in his videos, at his seminars, all to convince you that you, too, can achieve unimaginable wealth if you just follow his lead. But what if these glowing testimonials, these stories of financial miracles, are just as fabricated as everything else? Our investigation suggests that's exactly what's happening. We spoke to several individuals who claim to have been paid by Reynolds to provide false testimonials. These individuals, often struggling financially themselves, were lured by the promise of quick cash in exchange for simply saying nice things about Reynolds and his programs. Section 3. The human cost victims of the con. But behind the carefully constructed facade, behind the flashy cars and the fabricated success stories, lies a trail of devastation. Real people, lured in by Reynolds' promises of financial freedom, have been left financially ruined, their lives shattered by his schemes. These are not nameless, faceless statistics. These are individuals' families who trusted Ray Reynolds with their hard-earned money, their hopes, their dreams. We spoke to single mothers who invested their life savings in Reynolds' programs, only to lose everything. We spoke to young couples who were forced to file for bankruptcy after following his advice. We spoke to elderly individuals who lost their retirement funds, their financial security ripped away by a man who claimed to be helping them achieve their dreams. Their stories are heartbreaking, a testament to the devastating human cost of financial fraud. They paint a picture of shattered dreams, broken promises, and the immense difficulty of rebuilding after falling victim to a con man like Ray Reynolds. Section 4, The Walls Close In, Reynolds' Legal Troubles. But Reynolds' reign of deception couldn't last forever. As his schemes grew bolder, as the number of victims continued to climb, the authorities began to take notice. Law enforcement agencies, alerted to the mounting evidence of fraud, launched a full-scale investigation into Reynolds' business dealings. The walls were closing in, and the truth, as they say, has a way of coming out. It wasn't long before a grand jury returned a lengthy indictment charging Reynolds with a litany of financial crimes. The charges painted a damning picture of a man driven by greed, a man who had no qualms about exploiting the trust of others for his own personal gain. The trial was a media sensation, with victims from across the country coming forward to share their stories, their voices finally heard after years of silence. Section 5, A Trail of Broken Trust Lawsuits and Allegations. The jury's verdict was swift and decisive, guilty on all counts. Ray Reynolds, the self-proclaimed godfather of credit, was exposed for what he truly was: a con man, a fraudster, a predator who had preyed on the vulnerable for years. But the story doesn't end there. In the aftermath of his conviction, a flood of lawsuits followed as victims sought to recoup their losses and hold Reynolds accountable for the devastation he had caused. Law firms across the country filed class-action lawsuits on behalf of those who had been defrauded by Reynolds and his companies. The lawsuits alleged a wide range of predatory practices, from false advertising and deceptive marketing to outright theft and fraud. These lawsuits, still ongoing, represent the long and difficult road to justice for those whose lives were upended by Ray Reynolds' web of lies. They are a testament to the resilience of those who refuse to be silenced, who are determined to hold him accountable for the pain and suffering he has caused. While Helping Hand Industries exposed Ray Reynolds' willingness to exploit his own family, it was Reynolds University that truly showcased the depths of his depravity. This wasn't just about embellishing his own backstory or peddling empty promises. This was about building an entire institution on a foundation of lies, an institution designed to prey on the hopes and aspirations of thousands of unsuspecting students. Reynolds University promised the world accelerated degrees, online convenience, and guaranteed job placement upon graduation. It was a tempting offer, particularly for non-traditional students, working adults, and those seeking a second chance at higher education. Reynolds, in his slick presentations and online videos, positioned himself as a champion of the underdog, a maverick challenging the elitism of traditional academia. But beneath the glossy brochures and the carefully crafted marketing materials, a far different reality awaited those who enrolled. The reality was a far cry from the prestigious institution Reynolds portrayed. Reynolds University was, in essence, a diploma mill, churning out worthless degrees to students desperate for a shortcut to success. The curriculum, if you can even call it that, was riddled with plagiarism, factual inaccuracies, and woefully inadequate instruction. The professors were often unqualified, lacking advanced degrees or relevant experience in the fields they were supposedly teaching. The online learning platform, touted for its cutting-edge technology, was clunky, unreliable, and prone to frequent crashes. Students complained of unanswered emails, missed deadlines due to technical difficulties, and a general lack of support from the university administration. The promised job placement assistance, non-existent. Graduates quickly discovered that their expensive degrees held little to no weight in the real world. Employers, recognizing the university's dubious reputation, tossed their resumes aside. The promise of a brighter future, the dream of a better life, all shattered by the harsh reality of a worthless degree. The human cost of Reynolds University's deception is immeasurable. We spoke with countless victims, their stories tragically similar, single mothers who drained their savings, veterans hoping to use their GI Bill benefits for a fresh start, young people saddled with crippling student loan debt for an education that amounted to nothing. Take Sarah, a single mother of two who enrolled at Reynolds University, hoping to advance her career and provide a better life for her children. She poured every spare penny into her education, juggling classes with her job and her responsibilities as a parent. Upon graduation, she was shocked to discover that her degree was worthless. Potential employers scoffed, their faces a mixture of pity and disbelief. Sarah was trapped, drowning in student loan debt with no way to repay it. Her dreams of a brighter future dashed. Sarah's story is not unique. It's a story repeated thousands of times over, a tragic testament to the devastating impact of Reynolds University and the man who built it on a foundation of lies. But as with all of Reynolds' schemes, the truth eventually came to light. Whistleblowers, courageous former employees and students began to speak out, sharing their stories with journalists and law enforcement. The media, sensing a scandal, pounced on the story, exposing Reynolds University for the sham it was. State and federal investigators launched investigations, uncovering a mountain of evidence of fraud, deception, and financial malfeasance. The government moved swiftly, shutting down the university and seizing its assets. Reynolds, facing a slew of charges, including fraud, money laundering, and operating a criminal enterprise, found himself in familiar territory, a courtroom. This time there was no escaping justice. The evidence was overwhelming, the jury's verdict swift and decisive, guilty on all counts. Reynolds, the self-proclaimed champion of the underdog, the man who promised a path to a brighter future, was finally held accountable for the devastation he had wrought. But the story doesn't end there. The closure of Reynolds University left thousands of victims reeling, their lives upended, their futures uncertain. Many struggled with the emotional and financial fallout, their trust shattered, their dreams seemingly out of reach. In the aftermath of the scandal, efforts were made to assist the victims. Some former students were able to have their student loans forgiven, while others received counseling and support services. But for many, the road to recovery has been long and arduous. The story of Reynolds University serves as a stark reminder of the importance of vigilance, of thoroughly researching educational institutions, and of being wary of promises that seem too good to be true. It's a story of greed, deception, and the resilience of those who refuse to be defined by the actions of others. It's a story that, while rooted in tragedy, ultimately offers a glimmer of hope, a testament to the enduring human spirit and its capacity for healing and renewal. The trial of Ray Reynolds wasn't just about legal arguments. It was about holding a man accountable for the wreckage he left. The courtroom became a stage where the human cost of his deception was laid bare. Day after day, prosecutors presented a mountain of evidence. Financial records exposed the flow of money from unsuspecting students into Reynolds' accounts. But it was the testimony of the victims that struck at the heart of the matter. One by one, they took the stand, their voices trembling with a mixture of emotions. Section 2, Voices of the Victims, Stories of Loss and Betrayal. Jennifer, a single mother, poured her life savings into Reynolds University, believing it was the key to a better future. Upon graduation, she discovered her degree was worthless, her hopes dashed by a diploma mill scam. Trapped in student loan debt, her dreams replaced by betrayal and despair. "I did everything right," she told the court, her voice cracking with emotion. Mark, a retired veteran, enrolled at Reynolds University hoping to use his GI Bill benefits. His hopes were shattered when he realized the degree he earned was meaningless. Section 3, Justice Delayed but Not Denied, the Guilty Verdict. As the trial drew to a close, the prosecution delivered a powerful closing argument, reminding the jury of the overwhelming evidence against Ray Reynolds. They spoke of broken promises, shattered dreams, and the callous disregard for the lives Reynolds had upended. They urged the jury to hold him accountable, to send a message that those who prey on the vulnerable will face the consequences of their actions. After weeks of testimony, after hearing countless stories of loss and betrayal, the jury reached a verdict. The silence in the courtroom was deafening as the foreman read the words that would seal Ray Reynolds' fate. On the count of conspiracy to commit fraud, guilty. On the count of wire fraud, guilty. On the count of money laundering, guilty. A collective gasp filled the courtroom as the weight of the verdict sank in. For the victims of Reynolds University, it was a moment of bittersweet victory. Justice, though delayed, had finally been served. Section 4. Unraveling the Web. The scope of Reynolds' crimes. The guilty verdict marked a turning point. The investigation into Ray Reynolds' criminal enterprise continued, uncovering a vast network of accomplices. Law enforcement agencies launched investigations into other diploma mills and predatory education programs. The case of Ray Reynolds served as a wake-up call, highlighting the need for greater oversight. Lawmakers vowed to strengthen consumer protection laws and hold educational institutions accountable. The fight for justice extended beyond the courtroom. Victims, empowered by the verdict, formed advocacy groups, sharing their stories and demanding restitution. Section 5. A call to action, empowering other victims. The story of Ray Reynolds is a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most charismatic and convincing individuals can harbor dark secrets. It's a story about the importance of critical thinking, of questioning authority, and of demanding transparency from those who claim to hold the keys to our success. But most importantly, it's a story about the power of speaking out, of sharing your story, and of demanding justice. If you or someone you know has been affected by the actions of Ray Reynolds or any other predatory education program, you are not alone. There are resources available to help you navigate the legal system, to rebuild your life, and to find your voice. Don't let shame or fear silence you. Your story matters. Your voice has power. By speaking out, you can help prevent others from becoming victims and ensure that those responsible for these crimes are held accountable. Section 1. The Taxman Catches Up, a Criminal's Downfall. As if the wreckage of Reynolds University wasn't enough, Ray Reynolds' penchant for deception extended beyond education. The self-proclaimed financial guru who preached wealth creation had a complicated relationship with taxes. Those elaborate schemes, those illusions of wealth, they were about hiding income, evading taxes, and perpetuating his lavish lifestyle. The IRS, never fooled by smoke and mirrors, had been building a case against Reynolds for years. They pieced together financial records, tracing money through shell corporations and offshore accounts. They uncovered a pattern of deceit, a deliberate attempt to defraud the government. When the hammer fell, it fell hard. Reynolds, already facing charges, was indicted on multiple counts of tax evasion and money laundering. The government threw the book at him, determined to hold him accountable for every penny stolen. Section 2. Behind bars but not forgotten, the aftermath of conviction. This time there would be no plea bargains, no last-minute escapes from justice. The evidence was overwhelming, the jury's verdict swift and decisive, guilty on all counts. Ray Reynolds, the man who had built an empire on lies, was sentenced to a lengthy prison term, his reign of deception brought to an abrupt and ignominious end. But even behind bars, Reynolds' legacy of pain and betrayal lingered. Victims, while relieved to see him brought to justice, still faced the daunting task of rebuilding their lives, their finances in shambles, their trust shattered. The emotional scars ran deep, a constant reminder of the devastating consequences of falling prey to a charismatic con man. The story of Ray Reynolds serves as a chilling reminder that the pursuit of wealth and success can be a double-edged sword. It highlights the dangers of unchecked ambition, the allure of easy money, and the devastating consequences of sacrificing integrity for personal gain. Section 3. A Legacy of Lies. Lessons learned from the Godfather of Credit. The case of Ray Reynolds, the self-proclaimed Godfather of Credit, is a cautionary tale. It's a story about charisma, blind trust, and due diligence in finances and education. Reynolds' empire was built on lies and a crafted persona. He mastered manipulation. He knew the power of storytelling and the allure of rags to riches. His victims found strength in unity and resilience. They demanded justice and worked to prevent similar scams. Their courage shows that truth prevails and the human spirit overcomes challenges. Section 1. The Emperor Has No Clothes. Ray Reynolds, the self-proclaimed godfather of credit, built his empire on lies. He spun tales of a poverty-stricken childhood and entrepreneurial brilliance. But behind the facade lay a much darker reality. The truth emerged, exposing Reynolds as a conman and fraudster. The human cost of Reynolds' deception is immeasurable. His conviction serves as a reminder that justice can prevail. Section 2. The power of speaking out. The courage of the whistleblowers, the victims who dared to come forward and share their stories, played a pivotal role in exposing Reynolds' empire of lies. Their voices, amplified by the media and the tireless efforts of law enforcement, shattered the illusion of invincibility that Reynolds had so carefully constructed around himself. If you or someone you know has been affected by the actions of Ray Reynolds or any other individual or institution engaged in fraudulent or deceptive practices, it's essential to remember that you are not alone. There are resources available to help you navigate the legal system, to seek restitution, and to begin the process of healing and rebuilding your life. Speaking out, though undoubtedly difficult, can be incredibly empowering. It can help you reclaim your narrative, connect with others who understand your experience, and contribute to a collective effort to hold perpetrators accountable and prevent others from falling prey to similar schemes. Section 3. Protecting yourself and others. Ray Reynolds' story reminds us of the importance of vigilance and proactive self-protection. Research individuals and institutions before entrusting them with your money. Ask questions, demand transparency, and walk away from suspicious situations. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Trust your instincts, do your research, and avoid shortcuts. Learn from mistakes, empower yourself with knowledge, and support victims. Let's build a world where financial literacy and consumer protection are priorities.